So welcome to the Wyoming State Library Database tutorial, GoWYLD.net from the staff side, from stats to widgets. Here we're going to take a look at database statistics, FAQs, product information, guides, and handouts. The State Library has created guides to help with finding answers to your questions and tools to help staff and patrons. We'll begin here at GoWYLD.net to find out about GoWYLD.net. Across the navigation bar at the top, you'll find a link that says About. And here you'll find information about what GoWYLD.net is and funding, who we serve, children, students, and adults, the key content areas that are focused on and collected in, some history and background on funding. On the left-hand side, you'll see the GoWYLD mission and vision statements. GoWYLD Resources respond to the educational, professional, and quality of life goals of Wyoming residents. Next to the About tab is the Help tab, and this gives you some help for GoWYLD itself. If you're having problems with remote access, how to use these resources, and you'll see that they're focused not only on staff, but questions for patrons, including if they're having technical difficulties, how to get their PIN. Notice at the bottom, if they've gone through all of these questions and still have questions, they can link to the Ask Librarian, and that will connect you with a form. The digital library brings you to an amazing page with information about our e-audio, e-books, e-magazines, using our digital cloud, as well as magazine archives, newspapers, and the reading recommendation pages, and free e-books and digital audio. The next one, working right to left, is subject guides and tutorials, and we'll come back to that in a few minutes. The main purpose of this page is to access our databases, alphabetic here or by subject area. And again, we'll come back to that as well. What I want to bring your attention to is at the bottom here under More. I'm going to start with the Journals A to Z and magazines in print. Journal A to Z helps you find a journal title within our resources, saves you time to figure out, is it in ProQuest, is it in Gale, what database? And it can also save you time and money with your interlibrary loan dollars. Notice that you have a drop-down menu. Title begins with equals, contains, or an ISSN number. And I'm going to type in The Economist. What this page is telling you is that we own The Economist, you own The Economist, for these years, and be aware of that. It will tell you when we started getting it and how current it is in full text, which resources we own it in. And in this case, The Economist also has a historical archive. To look up an issue or an article within one of our databases, just select that database. So I've selected General 1 file. And here you can either select an issue and browse the titles to get to full text, or you can search within this publication. Now you know that it's owned by and within GoWYLD.net, and now you want to find a specific article, and you can use the search within box for that. Go back into GoWYLD.net and back to the bottom. Below Journals A to Z is magazines and print, and this is Wyoming Union list of periodicals, and it lets you find what journals and magazines are available in WYLD libraries. So I'm going to search periodical title Alaska, and you'll see it brought us into Wildcat. And now I can look at the record and see which libraries own which issues in print. Those two are very useful. Again, if you're doing interlibrary loaning, trying to find an issue for a patron, this can really speed that up within our electronic and print resources. The middle link here is a bit of an anomaly. The University of Wyoming has negotiated statewide access for some of its databases, and for those few that are very scholarly, we have tucked them into a page by themselves. The next one, news and announcements. This can keep you up to date on what's going on with our resources. For example, if there's going to be maintenance and outages, if we've added new somethings to the database, if they've consolidated, for example, SIRS issues, filtering issues about for schools, Gale updates, RB digital updates. So this is a great place to come if you are looking for any sort of information about what might be happening with our databases. The last one here is a very important one, and that's information for libraries. This is a very robust page with links to a lot of information. The announcements, training opportunities, and some marketing materials are included in the general information. And then there's frequent questions, including technical difficulties. On the right-hand side, you have information about the digital content, but you'll also have a tab about that here at the top. What's great on this page is you can click on this digital content overview, and it will bring up a document that you can use for training or for marketing to your patrons. The next tab over, contracts and funding. Library staff often need to know how long the contract runs, who pays for it, things like that. And you can see that we have Gale, National Geographic Kids, or Gale Cengage, things like that. It can also tell you who the funding is by. So if your board wants to know who pays for that, the money is coming from the state or from the University of Wyoming, and a few notes about those resources. Next over is databases. If I click on that tab, it will give me a bit of information about GoWYLD again, but it says that if I want to see specific databases, I need to use this drop-down menu. So for example, I can go down here to Gale, and it will give me information about Gale, including what we pay for, what we get, authentication information, usage statistics, and then widgets that you can use on your web pages. On the right-hand side, under Explore this resource, there is a list of Gale resources that you can access: training guides, product information, Gale support, Find My Location ID, which is important for the Gale resources, and information about their mobile app. I'm going to come back up and use the drop-down menu again and go into a different database. And I'm going to select Culturegrams. Here you're provided with a link to Culturegrams that you can cut and paste for your website. Frequent questions, search widgets for your LibGuide or for your website, and usage statistics and summaries. To the right of databases is digital content. And again, if I click on the tab, I'll have information about what Wyoming users have access to. But if I go to the drop-down menu, I can go into specific information about the Cloud Library. This one includes Help and Known Issues tab, a marketing kit, and Cloud Library product information from the vendor, frequently asked questions, usage statistics, and on this one, some publisher restrictions, which may be important for you to know for both your patrons and interlibrary loaning. The next tab under Information for Libraries is Shared Purchases. This tells you about the committee that's responsible for evaluating trialing and recommending resources for GoWYLD.net. You can see here the committee members and their charge, licensing changes, and minutes and agendas from this committee. And you're welcome to give information, recommendations to that committee. And the last tab here is usage statistics. As we saw, when we go into a specific database here from the tab, we can get the usage statistics. But what you're finding on this page is some notes about those usage statistics, digital content, and other statistics, including the Wyoming Library statistics and WYLD overview. So let's turn our attention to the subject guides and tutorials linked here at the top of the page. The default is to subject, and you'll see as I scroll down, those are the subjects on the GoWYLD.net page. To see all of the guides that are available to you, I recommend that you click on All Guides. Notice that now you have things like About GoWYLD, and we looked at that. That was the same as the tab at the top of the GoWYLD.net page. On the right-hand side, you'll see announcements again, and these have a direct link to the blog itself, other resources, which we've seen on the GoWYLD.net page, special events, and databases by title. So now I'm going to scroll down through all guides. In addition to the abouts and information for libraries, you'll also see the database resource guides. For example, biography. When you go into these subject guides, you'll see all the databases appropriate under that subject, and you'll have links to that resource. Notice to the right of that, you also see an icon, WSL or the bucking horse, and if you hover over it, you'll see that that is UW funded resources or Wyoming State Library funded resources. On the left-hand side, you'll see that there's also a tab for tutorials under biography databases, as well as additional resources and material. Whatever material is available from the vendor has been included within the subject guides. So here you'll have scavenger hunts, lesson plans, and because it defaults to subject, I'll need to click on All Guides again. Let's scroll down. There's that information for libraries, but I also want to show some other things that are here, and that's School Library Handbook, Serving Patrons with Disabilities. I'm going to click on that. This goes along with the assistive technology toolkits that should be in every library, and it also includes other organizations and links and tutorials and books. Let's scroll down to the bottom. The other things that you have access to are a few that have been created by the Wyoming State Archives. And I know a lot of us get asked for vital records, marriage, birth, and death records. This is a great guide to help you and your patrons access those records. On the right-hand side, under other resources, we've already looked at magazines and print and full text. But there's also a WYLD Network Services link here. And the one thing that I want to show you on this page in relation to GoWYLD.net is under More Documents and the Skills Checklist. You can go into a skills checklist for online resources and work with your staff on this skills checklist for databases. And notice that it was last reviewed in April by the WYLD Network Training Committee. Coming back to GoWYLD.net, so we went into the subject guides and tutorials, and from subject we were able to go into the biography, for example. You can also do that here from the subject areas. So for example, history. Again, there's our databases with the funding source. And on the left-hand side, you'll see that we can break history down into world, US, Wyoming, and genealogy. If I open up the US history, you'll see that there are the databases and additional sites and sources. Under that is also there's support material, scavenger hunts, posters, tip sheets, as well as tutorials. The other thing I want to show you for tutorials, and that is on the right-hand side of your GoWYLD.net page, is a tutorial link that opens up in a side window. And these are from Niche Academy, and we have a subscription to Niche Academy. And these are the databases that they have created tutorials for. These are short tutorials that you can, for patron use as well as staff.
Culturegrams is a reference database covering over 200 countries, the 50 United States, and the Canadian provinces.
So this gives a lot of good background information. They'll give you some lessons, and they all have text to go with the videos. Before we wrap this up, I want to go to the Wyoming State Library homepage. Here on the Wyoming State Library homepage, under Using the Library, be sure and check that out. There's a tab for librarians. There's a special programs tab. But I want to show you specifically for GoWYLD.net under Services and Library Marketing, the GoWYLD.net downloads. These are available for you to print and use. Not all of those materials that you saw within the guide for these databases will be here on this page. So if you don't see it, please call us and we can either get it from those pages or from the vendor, or maybe work to create something. As you'll notice, these some are from the vendor and some have been created in-house. So this wraps up our tour of information resources specifically for GoWYLD.net. Please contact any of us at the State Library for more help and information. Thanks for joining in. Bye now.